Welcome to the podcast. Episode 3497. We are thankful that you have joined the Mona Lisa podcast as we visit today with the most interesting of authors. Welcome to today's podcast, where we go places no human host is willing to go. I'm sitting here with the up-and-coming author, Paula Estelle Jackson. She's a business entrepreneur, a speaker, a successful direct sales leader, author, and if that's not enough, she's certified in cremation.
Oh, Mona Lisa, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here and to get to meet you personally. A true honor.
Let's dive right in. Paula Estelle, do you mind if I call you that?
You can call me Paula. You can call me Paula Estelle. You can call me anything you like as long as it's nice. But I will say, when I was growing up, I did not like my middle name. I thought it was old ladyish, old-fashioned. Now, at 50, I embrace it.
Thank you for that. I'm fascinated by the fact that you had the tenacity to name your latest book, Butt Cracks and Ball Sacks. Can you tell me where this ingenious title came from?
Yes, the name of the book is ingenious, and I will tell you it is totally inspired. One night, I tell about it in chapter 4, my husband and I were sitting in the hot tub, and I was explaining to him how strange it was to be able to feel my butt sagging down onto the top of my legs. I then told him we needed to start saving money to get surgery to remove this and lift this. It was not right. And he said, yeah, well, we need some surgery for my ball sacks then too. They're getting awfully thin the older I get. And we laughed and laughed and laughed. But I tell all about it in chapter 4, which is called Butt Cracks and Ball Sacks. And is also inspired by our friend Rachel, who tells her children this every night before they go to bed, that they should go to the bath and wash their butt cracks and ball sacks. So it all just fit together as I was writing the book, came together beautifully, and it gave me a chuckle. So I knew that was the title of the book.
100 pounds? Wow! So you've written a diet book?
Oh, Mona Lisa, this is not a diet book. I am not trained or qualified to tell anyone, including you, Missy, how to lose weight. But this is a humorous look. I'll tell you what it says. A humorous yet insightful look at losing 100 pounds, which I've done. 3 years ago, I began a weight loss journey, and I lost 100 pounds. I've kept it off for 3 years, and I'm going to tell you, it is no easy feat. It is ding-dong hard every day. But this book is a journal of that in essence. It's a very funny look at what happens to your boobs, what happens to your butt, what happens to your chicken waddle, why you might need extra money for water, what happens the first time you put on a sticky bra that you've never needed in your life and you think you're going to die when you pull that sucker off. All kinds of things in here. The insightful part, yes, it's not a diet book, but yes, it is insightful. It will give you tips on how I did it, such as the importance of journaling every day, writing pen to paper, your goals, your challenges, where you're missing the boat, where you hit the boat, where you hit the mark. All of those things are included in this book, and I want you to have it. There are also, probably my favorite chapter is called Sloppy Leftovers, and I think that will inspire you to stop taking the leftovers, to put yourself first, to put your journey first. And so that's the kind of thing that is involved in this 213-page book. Lots of great stuff, Mona Lisa. Your viewers are going to want to get this book.
I've read some of the reviews. It seems you're inspiring people with your words. Tell me about that.
Mona Lisa, that is a great question. Yes, I would love to tell you some of the ways I have inspired people with butt cracks and ball sacks. One of my friends said she began noticing people in her life more and looking at them differently. I talk in one of the chapters about an airplane ride where before I got on the airplane, I saw a really, really large man, really large, wearing shorts in the middle of winter with tattoos all over his legs. And I knew his pain. I knew he was thinking about what was fixing to happen when he boarded the plane, that he was going to need a seatbelt extender, that he was going to Dunlap over on the seats next to him, that he was going to have people not making eye contact with him coming down the aisle because they would not want him to sit with him or by him. And I set out that moment in the airport to sit by that young man and visit with him and see him as a human, not as a large human, but as a human. And so I did. There was maybe 3 seats left on the plane. One of them was next to him, and I sat down and I patted him on the leg and I asked him about his tattoos, and we had the best visit the rest of the way there. I saw him. This book is full of ways for you to identify with people who are larger, who are different, who are missing limbs, who are going through hardships in their life. And a lot of those, what we would maybe consider misfits, are the kind of people that I'm drawn to, that I love to get to know. I love to know what makes them tick. And I've written about them in this book. The more I lost weight, the more I personally identified with people who were now thin. I have a dear friend that hates her thighs because they're so skinny, and she's always trying to gain weight. And that's just as painful for her as it is for me that I couldn't sit and cross my legs for years. So there's lots of insights, even though it's very, very funny. Mona Lisa, you're going to laugh sitting there right here in the tamale store. You're going to laugh when you read this book. But it's also very insightful, and I hope it blesses people's lives.
I want our millions of listeners to know that I read your book and I was honestly struck by the chapter called Sloppy Leftovers. Where did this chapter get its inspiration?
You're right, Mona Lisa. I love the chapter Sloppy Leftovers, and I mentioned it in a question just a minute ago. But one of the reasons that I love the chapter Sloppy Leftovers is because leftovers are one of the things that caused me to be overweight in the first place. Not just food leftovers, but time leftovers. So I'm going to read you just a little snippet from the book and see if anyone identifies with this. The chapter Sloppy Leftovers. Being a good wife and mother was my priority for 25 years. I somehow had it in my head that being selfless was next to godliness. I earned the selfless badge of honor every ding-dong day. What do you guys want for dinner? And she made it. Where do you want to go on vacation? And she went there. What do you want to watch on TV? And she watched it. How would you like for me to dress? And she tried her best. You need new clothing and shoes and braces and private school? And she scrimped and did without other things to make it happen. One day she looked in the mirror when she was all alone. She saw her reflection for the first time in years, and quite honestly, she was a stranger. She had poured so much of herself into others that she had neglected herself. She was left with the sloppy leftovers. And that chapter goes on to remind especially women that we cannot pour into others until we are full ourselves. And that to me is the most inspiring chapter in the book. I mean, second to the chapter on my boobs, which is hilarious. But sloppy leftovers, women, we've got to stop doing that. We have to make time for ourselves. And this book will encourage you to do that.
You know, my days are spent here at the Tamale Lady in Wolforth, Texas. Shocking, I know, that someone as influential as I am chose such an understated place to run my podcast empire. But can you give me advice from your book on how to stay trim and focused these days?
Well, Mona Lisa, I sure can. One of the things that I write about and that I truly believe is that we have to get into journaling and mindfulness or meditation, whichever one you want. And I talk about that in my book in the chapter called The Triple Dip. I talk about the importance for my personal journey of getting up every morning and writing down my goals for the day, writing down my food for the day, writing down what I was going to have and sticking to it, being true to myself. And on top of that, I believe meditation, whether it's 3 minutes or 30 minutes a day, radically changes your life. It grounds me, it focused me, and when I don't meditate, my day seems to get off kilter. I stop putting myself first. I stop being able to think clearly and make good choices. So that's all in the book. And I know, Mona Lisa, you are here at the Tamale Lady every day smelling this delicious food. And I think tamales are okay in moderation. The problem is when we want to eat more than our body needs, or we want to eat when we're not hungry, or we want to eat because we're stressed. Those are the things that get us in trouble, whether we are here at the Tamale Lady or whether we are on a trip or just at home. So all of those tips are in the book, and I know they'll help you, Mona Lisa, and I know they'll help your millions of viewers. I'm so glad we're having this important conversation about butt cracks and ball sacks.
You dedicate an entire chapter in your book to your boobs. I have to admit, I've not given much thought to mine. I'm one of the lucky ones, you could say.
Well, Mona Lisa, this might be one chapter that my family or friends that are close to me wish I hadn't put in the book, but it is a hoot. Now, I'm just going to be raw and honest in this chapter. It's my favorite chapter, and it's called Boob Check. And, you know, my husband did the art in the book, and there's a little drawing there of a Sherwin-Williams paint swatch. There's a reason for that, but you've got to get the book to find out why that would be the art for Boob Check. But I'm going to read you an excerpt on this. I had to be selective of what I could read to you guys, but here goes. This brings me to my middle ages. Somehow I managed to live a pretty good life despite the shortfalls and disadvantages of my faulty boobs. The older I grew, the lower my boobs fell. Gravity took its toll. The extra weight I carried around gave gravity reason to gloat in its ability. Stretch marks with their silvery and shiny lines scribbled their secrets in more than one spot. I also failed to mention, but it truly needs to be said, that no matter how fat my sisters became, they were totally incapable of creating cleavage. Sister 1 and Sister 2 were as far as the east is from the west. I often noted that when I laid on my back, one breast would rest under the right armpit and the other under the left, and never the two should meet. If Victoria's Secret had been an option, and trust me, size 22-24, there was nothing on their menu that worked, it would have taken more than a push-up bra to get my girls to come together. One day, I had what weight losers like to call an NSV, or a non-scale victory. I'm going to leave you hanging. You got to get the book to find out what that non-scale victory was and what all the hoopla is about the Sherwin-Williams paint swatch and my breasts. But it's worth a read.
Well, as we wrap this interview up, Paula Estelle Jackson, I want to say thank you on behalf of the millions of subscribers to this channel. You have been fun and insightful, and we cannot wait to get a copy of your book.
Oh, Mona Lisa, you know this is my favorite thing. I want to tell them how they can get my book. Of course, I do. It's on my website, paulaestellejackson.com. You can grab this book on Amazon. There's a link on my website, but you can also grab a signed copy. So if you go to my website and you click on shop, there's a way for you to get signed copies, personalized copies sent directly to you from little old me. Or if you want to do the quick fix and not pay shipping, you can do the direct link to Amazon. It's all there. This is my 4th book. It's a hoot. You will be in stitches, and I want you to have it.
I'm going to put a link up where they can order this book right after this podcast ends. Thank you, Paula Estelle Jackson. You are an inspiration to millions. Or at least 10. Or 2.